Hi guys, my name is Borrodante. Let's study drawing with sausages. This comes from my desire to create a universal approach to do everything. So I think, more or less, we've come up with the universal approach on this channel to render lighting and colors and everything. So I did a lot of tutorials on that part. And lately I really feel like the sketching, the geometry and the anatomy part is really becoming like the weak part of my skill. And I know that studying anatomy in its pure form, the way they usually do it, by perfectly memorizing every muscle and how things go on a bone and learning how the bone shape goes and everything. Like, I can learn that, and I did, and I almost don't remember anything of that anymore. Just because it's like it's information but not knowledge. We need to come up with something to process that into actually working thing. And also, lately there's been a lot of talk on Overpain episodes about problems with foreshortening, when it's really hard to comprehend how the shape of a limb will distort when this kind of stuff happens. How do you paint something that's really pointing towards the camera or something like that? Like how to really paint everything constantly in full 3D comprehension without going insane. That's where sausages come in. I think I mentioned the whole sausage thing in one of the episodes of Overpain lately, but thing is, I want to learn that myself yet, so this is why this is not exactly a tutorial you're looking at. This is gonna be a study, like borrow study instead of borrow school, because I'm learning myself right now. I'm trying to come up with a theory. So, what I want to do is I want to apply my theory of drawing with sausages while studying some anatomy parts. So I don't know exactly where this is going. I don't know what exactly we'll end up with, what kind of drawing we'll have. But I think it's gonna be some kind of body part or torso in a certain position that we'll try to analyze and work through using sausages. This is gonna be amazing. So anyway, let's start with the biggest and most complex part of any study is actually looking for a good photo reference. One part of it is going to be the reference of actual like anatomy guides of some sort from any kind of books or something like this. So this is my Pinterest page. If you like Pinterest, you can follow me on literally pinterest.com/Borrodante. Here I am, you can follow me. I have a bunch of different folders. Lately I'm not really using much of Pinterest. It kind of fell out of my attention, I don't know, but there's still a lot of stuff in here already, including some old paintings of mine. So anyway, the first part will be having a good collection of anatomy references like this. It will help us to understand what we're looking at on some kind of photo that we'll look up right now. The hardest part for me in looking for references, this is like the biggest part of the video probably gonna be, because looking for references this is where everyone stops. The problem of looking for a reference is that you need a good lighting, you need a good position that showcases whatever you want to learn, and at the same time it shouldn't be boring and lame, so you really would want to draw that. Quite a few times, the Buto dance worked for me pretty well. This is some kind of... I never even cared enough to look up what exactly Buto dance is. Some kind of ancient Japanese traditional dance of a very messed up quality. What I love about it is that it's performed by almost completely naked dancer in white makeup all over his body, and they usually take very weird and stressful poses with all the muscles very tense, so it's really cool to study anatomy on this kind of stuff. And it has its awesome dark and weird messed up context to it, because Buto dance is pretty dark in a way. So I want to look through and find a good pose in good lighting and everything. I'm gonna do that. I haven't found the actual final good picture yet, so I'm gonna do it right now. This is pretty cool. This guy is just majestic. Okay, I've been googling for a bit too long now. So this is what I have found. I'm not gonna be drawing over all of them, of course. We basically only need one, probably. I really like this one. He's like all here. Like, take me. Take my anatomy. So now, I'm gonna be looking up some anatomy references to make sense out of what we see in the picture, and then we're gonna be using several techniques to quickly put ourselves into the 3D world of what we wanna draw, which is grids, from the tutorial I made about using grids, basic 3D boxes, and the sausages. So those three things are supposed to be enough to make everything work without any struggle. This is the main part. Everything has to be easy and universal. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to do something, and then I'll talk. Okay, apparently Photoshop doesn't want to support Wacom drivers today. I don't want to restart everything, so let's just switch to PaintStorm Studio. Wow, there's an update, version 2.0 for PaintStorm Studio. That's huge, isn't it? Oh my god. Well, I guess I'm making an episode about the version 2.0 of PaintStorm Studio later today, but for now let's try to concentrate on sketching with sausages. What are you doing? Converting brushes. They updated the brush engine. Saying no more. Anyway, it supports pressure right now, unlike Photoshop, so that's good. Okay, let's actually start. So now I want to do the basic build-up. Let's start with defining the geometry of the floor. Then we'll create a box, the main box, inside of which the character is positioned. And then inside of it, we'll be thinking with the sausages. So let's do that. Okay, done with the floor grid. I think the horizon line is somewhere around his waist. Seems like the camera is on that level. Mostly because this knee is facing sideways and this knee is more facing us, but they're vertically on the same level, which means that for that, we need to be on their level to work like that. Okay, now let's think on the box. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I've seen someone using it as a basic guide, so that helps somebody. Maybe it will help us. Okay, so this may help us somehow. I know this geometry is far from perfect, but thankfully we don't really have anything hard surface in the scene, so I think it's just a good guide to position all the details of the body without having to think about it too much. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be using big and small sausages to analyze the anatomy on different scales of comprehension until I have my third eye open. And then something's gonna happen. So about these sausages, let's talk about that. The point is, it's all about foreshortening and working with something that you can easily rotate in any way you want without being miserable. Usually how they teach you to break the body parts into pieces, or when you're working with anything that is supposed to be, you know, really drawn as a 3D object, they always go with break everything into boxes in a way. They would say like create this as like a box. Initially, of course, afterwards you would have to like think with this stuff, but at first, like, to rotate everything, they would say, like, do this and this, just to make you think in 3D. But I always felt like this is such an extra work, like positioning the boxes, when you don't really need any boxes for the anatomy. It's not actually rectangular like that. This is all very raw thoughts. Again, this is not a tutorial, this is study, so... The point is, to rotate a box for the foreshortening, you have to think through all of this stuff. To rotate the sausage is a very round box, in a way, right? It's important to not call it the capsule, because it's not a capsule, it has to be more organic. You have to feel more free about its shape. But the point is that to rotate the sausage from this position to this, you have to just do kind of like this. It basically turns from a long sausage to an almost completely round sausage. And it sends the message of what you're doing, right? It becomes foreshortened. I feel like that's all we need. The point is just choosing the right scale for what exactly we break into sausages. For instance, one part of the limb can be one big sausage, or a lot of small sausages for the muscles and such. So in a way, you kind of like create the basic sausage, and then you break it into smaller sausages. And you have to think in a very fluid way with them, so you would be able to just add things on top. It's kind of like just an axis with a radius, on top of which you add other details, which are also sausages. It's like a sausageception. And I think it's really cool. So yeah, I really want to make it work. You can paint like absolutely everything with a sausage. That's how I see this theory. Like even a super hard surface, you can paint a box with sausages. Like it doesn't matter. So right now what I want to do is I want to go through this body of this Buto dancer. I want to break his body into first very big sausages, like the whole torso will be a sausage, the shoulder will be a sausage, the wrist and everything. So we'll do that, and then we'll start thinking further into smaller sausages. Let's see. I need a moment, like I can't constantly comment on this while I'm working because I have to figure out things first myself and then tell you what's up. So let's start doing that. So this is what I have at the moment. I know this is not exactly a sporty way of studying, like I'm drawing over the photo, but that's not the point at the moment. I just want to see if sausages actually work as representation of everything. So for now, I can see how, for instance, on the hand, I broke the main piece into the big circle and the secondary one for this meaty second part. Because it's like a segregated bone that has its own muscle at the beginning of the thumb. So it's basically logically breaking the whole hand into two pieces. This whole thing and then this. And then on top we have the fingers. So for now, I just visualized fingers like this. I'm not sure if I would actually do it this way with the fingers. Although at the same time, it kind of works in a sense that I'm just looking for a gesture of the basic position. Yeah, why not start this way? And it actually can go a lot further than that. I just thought about it. We may have started even bigger. The point is, why not break this body? You know, for a study, it's a good idea to search, not just, like, we're not studying the anatomy. It's not the point of the anatomy. We're not doctors. We need to see how anatomy works for a human. In that sense, for instance, how the whole thing works for a person when they're sitting like this, reaching for a toilet paper probably. So the first thing I would want my brain to memorize here is kind of like this spot, this sausage. This sausage allows me to collect all the proportions together into some kind of center. What kind of shape in general would a body take when the person is sitting like this? So I would do this, and then I would segregate legs like this, and arms would be like this, if this for some reason would be such a universal position of reaching for something from a sitting pose. So just memorizing these kind of like clusters of masses on different levels of comprehension, as a big ball, as a smaller sausages, and breaking into even smaller pieces up to the tiniest muscles. It all has to be like object-oriented. So later on, you would just go with this circle. You just know you want a sitting person, so it's almost a perfect circle, a bit vertical. Legs would take like a bottom half a bit more, so there would be a sausage like this in here. And then you would think this is the axis, and it's facing that way, so one leg would be here, facing us a bit. That's why it's a bit of a narrow sausage like this. And this leg would be facing sideways. That's why it's more of a horizontally wider sausage. So we have that, and then on top, since the butt is somewhere around here, I would add a sausage on top like this. the head is somewhere around here. This is not an anatomy, this is nothing. This is not a sketch, not even a build-up sketch or anything, like it's not a construction really. But it's already not an empty canvas. I feel like there's a lot of potential in this. Thing is, I think after a while of practicing this is exactly how your brain will work without even putting these circles on the canvas. You will just have that in your head, and this is how you will develop that 3D vision and better 3D sketching on the go, on the fly, like without any construction. Like that's how you would become a god of sketching. But we really need to practice this a lot, otherwise it's all just talks. So anyway, on top of this, now I'm gonna be looking through different anatomy resources and try to make sense out of the masses that I kind of see bumping out of the basic sausages that I have right now on the canvas already, and kind of like put them in a proper position to make it work right. Because all of these bumps, this is exactly what we need to concentrate on to make a good, proper, solid message of the body. So let's give that a try. So one thing that we really have to keep in mind, like hold it in our head, from this point is not where the up and down of the sausage or front and back or anything like that, because there is no such thing for a sausage. The only thing that the sausage has is its axis. Like where is it pointing? Where is it directed? Just a one line. And of course the radius, like how thick it is, but we don't have to hold it in our heads because that's exactly what we have on the canvas already. So the axis for this sausage right here, for the leg, is gonna be kind of like going in there like this. So we have it rotated this way towards us and a little bit to the side. And when I draw just this circle right here, this sausage as a circle, this is what I keep in mind. This is what it means for me. And even if you need to draw these lines and the axis to be able to really comprehend it, if you don't have a lot of experience with drawing in 3D, like actually 3D objects, then do this. It's still easier than actually following the parallel lines of the box or something like that. Or anything more complex if you follow like a very specific anatomy shape. Again, a tutorial that tells you that there's a very specific anatomy shapes everywhere and you have to learn the shape of each bone, not just the muscle. It's awesome. That's the thing that you have to go towards with these sausages. So go to Proco TV and watch all of it. But thing is that I always feel like it's so hard to just go ahead and draw all of that so precisely when I want to make sense with the character. So that's where sausages were born. Their goal is to connect the precise tutorial part of the anatomy with the practical approach where you don't have to work too hard to make it happen. I think it's real, like I need to find this connecting part to make things fluent, easy to think with. This is gonna be a weird video. Anyway, let's see what we can do with this whole thing. I don't want to make this video an hour long, so let's just work on the anatomy as much as we can and then stop somewhere, I guess, when it makes some sense. So right now we're gonna be breaking things into smaller pieces, stuff that is less obvious, muscles. Okay, so I broke almost everything into pieces here. Of course, this is like just analyzing what I look at on the photo, plus also applying something that I remember from anatomy. What I found interesting right now is that these sausages kind of allow me to memorize certain helpful, like the shape of this muscle group here, like what it looks like, where the split of the bone happens. You memorize just the shape of the sausage, and it helps you to just quickly create this simplified library that you can elaborate later on. Learn your way into a complex anatomy. Because when you see all the complex bones and muscles presented to you at the same time, it's just a mess. How can you possibly start thinking on all of that? So yeah, I think this idea of breaking into pieces with sausages is really cool. just because it's super adaptive. And it's different from gesture drawing, because gesture drawing has a completely different nature from what you have to do with the sketch after that. Gesture drawing would be like this stuff, you know, whatever. So you see the message of the thing. But after that, these abstract lines have to magically transform into a 3D shape. And I feel like that's where everyone would have a big problem. And if you start with a sausage, you just break into smaller sausages. It all has the same nature. So I feel like it's gonna help somebody out there. I think it's gonna help me at least. I love the way face turns out. As you can see, there's so many subtleties on the face, on the human face in general, and it's so hard to find a way to mark them. How do you mark them when they're so subtle? Well, sausages help a lot with that. And after that, like after doing this for a few times, you memorize the shapes of what's going on. You see this shape of where the eye socket is. This is what it looks like, because in here there's this mass going on top of the nose. And it's pushing the eye socket part from here like this. And on this side there's a cheekbone going on, so another push. On top there's an eyebrow sausage, and inside we just have this part left. And inside of that we can see where the actual eye is positioned. The nose, such a complex part. Everyone is struggling with the nose. You just paint a sausage that repeats the silhouette of the nose, that's it. You're basically doing a two-dimensional work here. But you just specify the axis of it, where it's directed. And that's it. It's so much easier to keep working on this after that. Like, we will be breaking into smaller sausages here, like this, and like this, and like this. And then you just softly connect them to make a dynamic shape. I don't know, it feels very right. It's like it allows you to touch the anatomy, to make sense out of everything for you. And it's so easy to rotate fingers into 3 dimensions. After you create the sausage of the whole finger, you kind of make sense out of it. So the first bone goes like this, the second one, you see I'm overlapping here. That means that the axis is facing away from us. And the final bone is almost completely overlapped by the second one. But it's important to go from bigger sausages to smaller ones, because otherwise, like, how do you know that this finger is not broken right now? First, you have to make the sausage of a gesture of the hand. So, as you can see, like, why not make the gesture of this? Like, this is the gesture sausage. Memorize this shape, because fingers, they often take this shape, like this. And remember where they break in the middle, and so on and so forth. And inside of it, it's gonna be a lot easier to search the smaller sausages of the bones. I think it's cool. It's taking care of proportions and the very basic geometry, which is just the direction and radius. You're not getting overwhelmed with anything more complex. So it's a kind of like a combination between two-dimensional silhouettes that you remember, just the silhouette of how the sausage is getting distorted for any particular body part. And inside of it, you just make the direction of it. So you can position this simplified silhouette in the 3-dimensional space and then break into a more complex structure inside of it. For that, you look at references, but you draw sausages. Because I feel like you're still not gonna learn anything more complex than this. You can look at these knees as much as you want, or at these arms, but you're not gonna remember anything more than these bumps, these clusters of what goes where in a certain pattern. You just keep memorizing them, what kind of shape it is. And inside of it is so much easier to find sense that you're looking for. That's where dynamics and the precise anatomy collide. I think it's really cool. Sausages. Okay, I think this has been pretty cool. I want to continue doing this, but I don't know when and how. But I have to end this episode now. I hope it helps someone. Look up any photos of naked people and draw over them like this and try to memorize what kind of sense every shape of the limb makes, because that's what's really important, and what shape the whole body altogether makes in different poses. I really want to do the same thing, but without drawing over the photo, of course. because right now there was a lot of aid for me. But I think when there's aid on the global sense, you have the opportunity to concentrate on the smaller scale of something, like you still memorize, so it's not exactly bad to do that. Sometimes it's kind of cool. I feel like I want to go through every single body part, like we should do the episodes like this, sausage anatomy from Borrow Dante. So maybe we should learn like just arm, breaking into sausages, and remember the patterns, the shapes, and the patterns of the positions of all the sausages, all the masses, all these clusters of masses on the anatomy on different scales. I think it's a really cool thing to analyze through this incredibly complex system of a human body. I'm getting more and more inspired while doing this video. I hope this video is gonna make any sense because it's so messy. Yeah, I have to stop. This was awesome. Tell me guys what you think. If you want more, if it's interesting to watch me going through the anatomy like this, I will probably be commenting more because right now I really had no idea what I was doing. And in the next episode, we would like go through an arm and think through all the muscles on it. So I will be commenting on that more in a more detailed fashion, I guess. It's time to do that. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did. If you're here, leave a like and subscribe. Tell a friend.
Pass the toilet paper, would ya?
Do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Man, this looks so awesome. Especially if you forget the fact that I drew this over the photo.